Shit, let me get close to the mic. Anyways, welcome everybody to the Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy-looking Nerf herders. This is a live streaming video podcast by Star Wars fans, for Star Wars fans, and today we're going to be discussing the novel Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Skywalker. I almost said Skywalker because it's one of those days.
Surprisingly, this is the first Star Wars novel ever released.
I know, crazy, right?
Who would have thought?
Yeah, it's insane. I would have never guessed. Yeah. And it's so funny, like, just before we even get in, realizing, because like usually I'm used to movie being released and then the novelization being released shortly after, which, I mean, that's a lot of Star Wars stuff, but I didn't realize that there was almost a fucking year in between these two. And it's so crazy to see the difference between this, which was very close to the original script and even includes deleted scenes from the movie that we can now see with further releases. But man, totally different direction.
Yeah. It's wild too, because it stays so close to the original, and yet you can feel the editing choices when you're reading this that he made in the film. And you're like, oh, okay, I understand why he made those choices.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have them in there as someone who really wants to get the full gravity of Luke's experience, because this novel is 100% the movie is too, but it's 100% based around Luke and his perspective and his experience with this galactic civil war. You know, it starts as a sort of like daydream, like, I'm going to join you, Biggs. I'm going to be up there with you someday. And Biggs is like, yeah, sure you are, kid. Like, we're bros down on Tatooine, but you're stuck here moisture farming, bitch. I'm out here fighting fucking, I just finished the academy. I'm going to be going to join I'm going to try to find whoever the fucking rebellion is. And I'm going to try to, and Luke's like, no, don't do that. It's so dangerous. You don't know anything that's going to happen. Even on a back-ass world as Tatooine, the Galactic Empire is seen as the bad guy. That's some bad PR for the Galactic Empire. All I'm saying. Not
definitely.
Great.
Well, and it's funny too, because that's even before the last remnants of the Republic were destroyed. Yeah. Like when he shut down the Senate and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's fucking hilarious.
Like even back then, everyone was just like, this is kind of a shit deal. Like this whole one galaxy government doesn't seem to work very well.
Well, and the craziest thing is just how Lucas originally envisioned this being. Like, Palpatine's not really the bad guy.
That's what's so crazy about
Blew my fucking mind.
Yeah. Well, the preface of this sets up a version of Star Wars that is very different than the one that evolved. And you can understand that, ultimately we have to accept that when he wrote this script, which this novel is based on, he had in his mind the concept of more films, but he was solely focused on telling a story.
Yeah.
And we really, really see that the way that the way that Palpatine is presented, because ultimately in the preface of this novel, it sets up this government where the senator comes into power. He eliminates distraction, but third parties come in and take him over, so he is just a puppet. Very much arguably like our own U.S. government right now, and has been for arguably 80 years-ish. Like, that's just sort of how we've rolled. And so knowing that Lucas is very much politically driven and motivated as he's actively writing these, like... Episode 4 is very much his railing against the Nixon administration, 100%. Like he's not even shy about it.
Little side note, that shit fucking makes me laugh so much, because I know people that are obsessed with Star Wars, but fucking hate anything that's political leaning. Like if a movie has a message at all, it's like, well, it's too overhanded. It's like, that's literally the entirety of this fucking franchise. Everything is based around fucking politics. Like, it doesn't matter what era you're watching or what you're reading. Like, it's all literally about politics and shit. And I mean, space wizards, but still, it's just so fucking funny when people are like, I hate that shit, but they're obsessed with this, because it's like, Do you not understand the relevancy of this movie when it came out? No? Okay. All right, cool.
Well, it's like people saying they love punk rock music and don't like politics.
Yeah, you're a fucking cunt is what you are. You're a stupid asshole.
Like,
dude, I can't tell you how often I get in arguments with people over that shit. It's like, that's literally what punk rock is. It's a going against the establishment. Yeah. Whatever that establishment is, whatever you find is holding you down in one way or another, you are actively against that, and that's what the message is.
Yeah.
And you fucking hate Paul. Like, yeah, shut the fuck up.
It is interesting because we grew up in slightly different generations, or sort of overlap here, but the current generation is very much obsessed about politics. I would argue infinitely more than even we ever were. And the generation before us was sort of wrapped up even less than we were. There was a period where people would turn on the news, watch it, and then turn it off and go about their lives. Nowadays, there's no turning off. You are living the news.
Yeah,
and it is
absolutely.
just constant, perpetual. It is consuming every ounce of your energy of existence, either railing against or defending it. And it is just like all encompassing. This is what life is nowadays.
Yeah.
Stark contrast to just a few decades ago.
And
I really do feel like this, maybe I'm reaching, but it does very much feel like this novel is the sort of personification of that. Because if you sort of look at it as the Galactic Empire is the political machine moving in to dominate all of knowledge and society and rewrite, whatever histories or messages that they want to sort of rewrite in order to contain and control. That's kind of what we're getting nowadays with cable news and with social media news. And it's like, get in your echo chamber or be consumed by someone else's message. And there's never a position where anyone can just sit on Tatooine and stare at two suns and be like, can I just moisture farm? Like, what the fuck?
Right.
This is crazy. I just need a breath of dusty air to fucking break away from this shit.
Yeah, it's a fucking trip.
It's a time capsule, that what this novel is, in my opinion.
Well, it's funny too, because it is very much a time capsule of that era. Like you're saying, like George talking about the Nixon administration. But it's also, as much of a time capsule it is, it's also culturally relevant. Like, especially the novel, like, because that's the thing that I did love about this, is it really went into the minutia of the political climate and the buildup of where it got to that point, which, I mean, ultimately we get with Revenge of the Sith, especially like the novelization of Revenge of the Sith. But
that was good.
Like, it's, oh my God, dude, I can't wait to talk about that one, man. Surprisingly enough. But yeah, like, it's just, I fucking love that. It was so fascinating getting that behind the scenes glimpse of, like, this is what George was thinking at the time. And, fucking 20 years down the road, he does it again. And he stays true to that. It's a trip. Yeah. And of course we get differences like Vader corrupting the Emperor. That
was great.
Oh my God. I was like, what the fuck? How? Whoa, that's where he's going with this. Yeah, man, it's just so fucking awesome.
Well, I think arguably, I think Tolkien is the only one that sort of like conceptualized the universe before, well, arguably as he was writing it, but he had like a vision, and he sort of slowly put it down and sort of expanded upon it and developed it, and took decades to sort of put it all together. Lucas very much was like, I want to tell a story. I want to tell a story that's relevant to kids. I want to inject morals to it, and I want to speak about the state of our fucking world right now. And like, he is coming hot off the heels of winning awards for his college films that he put out, and
specifically THX 1138.
Yeah, and then his massive success, which allowed him to make this film through American Graffiti with some other film screenwriters and producers. And now he's like, I'm going to tell a story that I want to tell. And studios were like, no, that's not going to happen. And he's like, all right, well, then I'm just going to do it myself then. Fuck all of you.
Yeah.
And he did it. And he changed the entire fucking cinematic world by doing it. And then we get this ghost written by Alan Dean Foster novelization, which is based, again, off of the script, which is slightly different than the fully conceptualized film.
Yeah.
And what's frustrating for me, and of course I'm sure with everyone, even Lucas himself, he was never 100% like comfortable with the way that the first film came out. That's why he kept going back and changing it, and he was still never happy with it, is that it never really was fully realized what he imagined it to be.
Mm-hmm.
As a creative individual, I live with that every day.
Yeah, that's called being a creative, period. Like nothing is ever what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Perfection is unattainable, and it's the bane of your existence, but it's also the key motivator for your existence.
It's I mean, just, on the creative side of things really quick, it's aggravating.
Yeah.
You have people that come in and they're asking you to do something, hopefully because they respect you as a artist, they respect your integrity, your vision, your creativity, whatever it is that, made them come to you versus someone else. And then they just nickel and dime and they keep adjusting and changing and shifting and maneuvering. And you're just like, why the fuck did you come to me in the first place?
I've had that. I've asked people that before. It's like, why? There's
the worst.
If you wanted it like this person, why don't you go to that fucking person?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna be offended, Holmes. Like, do what you gotta do. Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's painful. Hey, Chris, how you doing? You're rewatching it with your kid? That's great.
Hell yeah.
This is, I mean, I'm assuming that's age 10 that he's referencing. This is the age that it was written for. And so, you're
absolutely.
getting all of the best. You're getting good friend vibes from this. You're getting to appreciate sort of tertiary type characters like a pet would be, for example. I think the droids are sort of personified as, even though they end up saving people a lot of the times, they're sort of seen or presented as pets in this universe.
Yeah, I could see that.
You're getting, that sort of like mentor through Obi-Wan. You're getting those like real true villains through the Empire, through Vader, through stormtroopers. And then you're getting that sort of intriguing love interest that it doesn't age well.
Definitely not.
We know.
Well, arguably, I don't know, man. The COVID, like the whole lockdown, it kind of changed people's preference on pornography. So, dude, fucking incest porn became way bigger because of COVID, and it's I don't get it, but whatever.
Hey, no king shaming, right? Whatever you're into, as long as it's not harming anyone else, do your thing, man. I'm down with it. First of all, I go down some crazy rabbit holes, so I am I'm not someone to fucking. I've seen some shit that I can't unsee.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of. I mean, unfortunately, living in the state that we live in, it's not as easily accessible because we don't have the magic of Pornhub anymore.
Yeah,
but
Utah.
Yeah, man, it's like you gotta go down those rabbit holes. Like if you're not ashamed of yourself by the end, like, were you really even trying?
That honestly, that's like my mantra. I want to feel. Maybe it's just because I'm hollow as a human.
Yeah,
if I'm just not feeling anything, there's something wrong.
Feel something.
Yeah, speaks more to my lack of emotion than anything else. All right, so this was released by Ballantine Books. We'll start from the beginning. November 12th, 1976. Ghost written by Alan Dean Foster because George Lucas can't write for shit.
Well, it's so funny
clearly
too.
No.
So my version, I mean, it obviously is still Ballantine, but I got the Del Rey version.
Yeah,
there is not a lick on here of Alan Dean Foster, and it's a shame.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
see,
it's
the version I have is the three of them together, and it's a intro by George Lucas before every single one.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, the first one he's just like, yeah, he wrote it. Like, I asked him to, I got the credit, but he really deserves it. Just sort of almost apologizing.
As he fucking should, man. Alan Dean Foster was one of the greats of Star Wars. Like,
I think he's still great. He's still doing it.
He's still in Star Wars?
I think so. Yeah.
Are you sure? Because
I'm not sure.
I was like, I thought they got rid of most of the key writers, like besides.
I don't think he's writing anything new for Disney. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's Disney's biggest fuck up is getting rid of the core writers. Like, I mean, they kept Zahn, but did they really?
Timothy Zahn, yeah. No, they didn't really. I mean, they allowed him to write 2 trilogies, which was awesome. but they forced him to make changes and stuff, and then
That he
he set
fucking
up
hated
stuff
it.
that was never paid off, much like the Aftermath trilogy. And
Oh God.
yeah, I mean,
Let's
the Disney era is just one of darkness.
it
So
really is.
let's focus on the
is.
good old days here. I love this because it was set up as the adventures of Luke Skywalker. So this was prefaced by this promise of almost a Buck Rogers serial sci-fi adventure. You know, like, we're going to get new adventures every single time. Alan Dean Foster then did Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which we've already reviewed. And he's done a bunch of other stuff since then, dealing in the Star Wars universe. But I do find it interesting how George Lucas very much took his inspirations, what he wanted to create. He did it masterfully, asked someone that was a better writer than him to put it out in novelization, and then sort of, you know, projected it along. Like, this is beyond me at this point. So I'm going to allow other people to dip their toes in it. And as long as we're keeping this sort of serialization, sci-fi, fantasy vibe, let's keep going. And what it ended up, and yes, there was problems with the EU, but it ended up with nearly 40 years of amazing storytelling. That sometimes was redundant. What can you do? It's 40 years of selling the same universal stories. But sometimes it was brilliant fucking storytelling that, like, completely shifted our understanding of this galaxy far, far away and kept us interested and wanting more. And video games were put out and we were just, like, invested in it. And then, you know, whatever happened, happened. But, like, this was a time that was just ripe for the picking, and George Lucas saw it and knew it and put it into motion, and I can't thank him enough. So it was prefaced by this Journal of the Wills, which was never fully realized in future films or novelizations. But it is interesting because when you sort of reflect back on where we are now with this sort of post-Clone Wars TV series knowledge, you know, the Wills are these sort of entities that manipulate the Force, that sort of use the Force, and they're sort of your gateway that Qui-Gon Jinn had to go through, these sort of like 3 Wills witches or whatever they were. I'm not even 100% sure what they were. That he sort of had to learn how to become one with the Force. So the Wills were sort of like this manipulative gateway between the Force and between the understanding of human existence. And this whole novelization, though it later sort of was reframed through the perception of R2-D2 and C-3PO, was originally supposed to be seen as a telling by the Wills in the Book of the Wills.
And that's something that I've always found funny, because initially he did say that, or he said that in different interviews, where it's literally we're being told a story by these entities that are sort of outside time and space. You know, almost like the Fates. Like, they're the ones that are telling the story. They're tying everything together and blah, blah, blah. And then after saying shit like that, then he's like, oh, well, no, this is the story from the perspective of R2-D2 and C-3PO, because they're the storytellers, because they experienced all of it. So it's always made me laugh that he never quite could make up his mind, but I don't think he needed to. I think either way it worked pretty well.
Well, this is what drives me so insane, is that the sequel trilogy treatment that he sent off was very much sort of doing that full circle, focused on the Wills and their engagement with the Force and how they manipulate and control people who then tap into the Force. And which makes me really want to see that version of the sequel trilogy, because
even if I could just read it, man.
Yeah, just give us the script, or even a 2-page treatment. Like, let us know. Like, I was reading the treatment that he put in the archives from the prequel trilogy, where he was sort of reflecting on what he sent off to Disney and what he wanted to happen. And it didn't really go into it really in depth. It was just a couple sentences, but that sounds greater than what we ended up getting. And so I can't imagine a Disney going, hey, here's a guy who has made billions of dollars with this franchise, and he's giving us, first of all, he sold it to us, so awesome. And now we're going to make movies, and he gives us a script, and we're just like, fuck that. Let's do something else. What? Are you insane? How could you why would you even buy it in the first place if you're going to ignore his decision? He's the reason it made money. His vision is the reason that because he didn't want to do what everyone else was doing, and Disney's like, let's do what everyone else is doing. Fuck. So we got Marvel, Star Wars.
Yep.
Right. I don't want to.
Yeah, let's
too far
not
in
go
there.
down that route because that's gonna be like foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, but I do really appreciate that he starts in this place that is wildly different than the version of Star Wars that we understand today,
Mhm.
and it just gives you that sort of purity of moment in the 70s that this entire thing came out of. And that's, I think, the best part of this particular novel, and arguably why we even started doing these old school reviews anyway, is to get back to the source of Star Wars, what was magical about it, why we were really into it and invested into it. We never really talked about that aspect of it, but that's what I love about it.
Mhm.
And seeing it through that sort of fresh time capsule lens, it reinvigorates the love that I had as a child for
Yeah,
Star Wars
absolutely.
as a grown
I
man.
mean, shit. I was finishing it up until last night because I was parsing myself out, just like 20, 30 pages a night. Fucking Friday night, I had to force myself to put the book down because it's like I've got like 40 pages left. I could finish this shit tonight, but it's 1:30 in the morning, and it was a struggle. It's like fuck, I want this more than anything in the world. I will lose sleep to read this, but I shouldn't because I have to work.
Yeah.
And then I was telling you
Yeah.
earlier, like I finishing it last night. I finished it around like 1:30 or so, and I was fucking like wired as shit. Like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and it was hard to fall asleep
It's
because it's just
so
so
good.
amazing.
Like
And it's so disappointing to me because I mean, you and I both read these books, a lot of them, the vast majority of them, I would say. And there's just something so different. Like after the Aftermath series, it changed. It just
oh yeah.
completely flipped into something that it never was. Like even though Aftermath was Disney era, it was Star Wars before it was Disney. And it's like going through the High Republic first trilogy, going through the Thrawn books, which I love the Thrawn books, but they weren't Thrawn. They weren't Star Wars. It was more like Star Trek.
100%.
Um,
Yeah.
like it just kind of made me think, why did I like this? I don't understand. Like none of these books are good. The rest couldn't have been this bad, but did I really like them? So revisiting shit that was pre all that, it's like, oh yeah, that's why this
Yeah.
shit is amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you've like been a fan of Star Wars and never read these old novels, do yourself a favor because it will reignite your passion for it,
Mhm.
and it will give you a window into what
Mhm.
Lucas was thinking when he first started this stuff,
Yeah.
which I really, really appreciate. I mean, we're sort of opened with the typical, the film with the cruiser being chased down by the Star Destroyer, and Luke Skywalker. I mean, sorry, Princess Leia and Vader. Sort of dealing with all that, and the droids coming down to Tatooine. What's great about this is we get this great sequence of Luke sort of lost. He's a kid. He
Mhm.
doesn't want to do farming anymore. And he looks up. He's heard of the Galactic Civil War, doesn't know anything about it. He doesn't like the Empire, but the idea of even like traveling across the desert is like dangerous and crazy. So why would he even think of galactic scale of things?
Mhm.
And then he sees in his upper atmosphere a literal battle occurring. And
Yeah.
there is a cutscene where you can see like Luke is like using binoculars and looking up, and then he races over to a bunch of friends at a cantina, and they're all lounging around like my friends used to fucking do. Girls splayed out across them, and like smoking weed and fucking drinking beers and shit. And he's like, "Hey guys, seriously, I just saw a fucking battle up there. Like, fuck you,
Right.
man. Like, let's fucking have some fucking like hit this fucking pipe. Like, chill out."
Mhm.
That's the vibe I was getting. Like I
Yeah.
grew up in this era of like small town, small mindsets, and then something big happens. You're just like, chill out. That doesn't affect us. Like, there's no big deal.
Right, and it's funny too because Biggs is in there, and it's
Yeah.
like Biggs is a part of it, and he's being so nonchalant about it too. He's like, "Oh no, you're not seeing it right." And it's like, dude, you're a fucking part of this. You're literally leaving to go to the rebellion.
Yeah,
You
that's
should-
the funny part too.
Yeah.
He just finished Flight Academy. He's going to join the Empire. That's the sort of the assumption.
Mhm.
But he's like, no, I'm going to go try to find some off-world planet where I can make connections. I got a guy
Mhm.
that's going to hook me up, and I'm going to join this rebellion. And everyone's like, yeah, right. Like, fuck you. It's sort of like if you're in this small town and someone's like, I'm going to make it big. I'm going to be a rock star. And there's like, yeah, whatever, dude. Do your thing. Like, you can barely fucking play guitar. Fuck off. And he does. Like, he fucking does. And Luke, the whole time, he's like, I'm going to get there, man. I'm going to be there with you. He's like, okay, sure you will.
Yeah, that's okay, Luke. You'll make it someday.
It's so great. And I love the relationship between Luke and Uncle Owen. They do play on it in the film, but they sort of hammer it home here. Luke is afraid of Uncle Owen. Uncle Owen is not this passive dude. He's kind of aggressive. The way that I got the vibe, I don't think Uncle Owen physically assaulted Luke, but I think the threat was ever present.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an abusive relationship without the physical aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like that is, and I mean, that's a pretty common trope of kids growing up in that era.
I mean, that's how I
era
grew up.
And shit. Yeah, it's
I mean,
like I was fucking terrible. Now, okay, that's a lie. I did have the physical abuse, but most of it was the whole getting in your head type of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was. I can understand why they took that out because we were supposed to feel bad not only for Luke when what happens, but also feel bad for his uncle and his aunt when they die.
Yeah, they're literally casualties of war. I mean, it's a situation where you're presented with a couple who they have ideas of what they want. This really resonated with me as a parent because ultimately you want the best for your kids. Whatever that best is, you want them to have the best. You want them to be better than you. You want them to be more successful than you, more prosperous, etc. That's what Uncle Owen is trying to set up. He thinks that by Luke being a farmer and not going off like his father, he will have a fulfilling, successful life. He will be better than Uncle Owen had it, and he will have successfully raised this child as was asked by him, as, in future films we'll realize Obi-Wan asking him to do it. And so I can't fault Uncle Owen.
No, not
because
at all.
He literally saw the monster that his fucking cousin turned into.
Mm-hmm.
Cousin?
No, it's his half brother.
Half brother?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's Shmi's kid.
Right. Yeah.
But different dad.
It's not even half brother. It's because Shmi's husband wasn't his. It's like.
Well, yeah, that's half because they share a mom. They don't share a dad.
Right. Okay. Yes, that is how genetics work. Okay, you're right. 100% my bad. So yeah, but he saw what he became, and he was like, nah, "Look, I've been given the keys here. I'm not gonna let you fucking drive, kid. I'm sorry. I love you too much. I've raised you since you were shitting in my goddamn hands. I care about you. I know you think I hate you and I'm punishing you. One more season is a perpetual statement that you've heard from me every goddamn year, but it's because I want the best for you." That is something that every parent fucking feels. You want what's best for them. The difference between a good parent and a stifling parent is realizing the line of when you have to say, "You're not me. You're not. I can't control your future. I can't control the outcome of your choices. You are a human individual, and I've raised you as best as I could, but I have to now just sort of let you go." That's the difference. And it's hard as fuck to do.
Yeah,
and it hurts every ounce of you as a human. And when they fail and they make choices that you just hate, it just pains you to death. But that's what it means to be a good parent, is to let them fucking go. And not hover every goddamn second or control them. That's the difference between Lars and being a good parent versus being a bad parent. His wife is different. I think she is very much wanting him to let
she's
go.
Even got that abused aspect of her.
Yeah.
Like it really came across in this. Like she's like everybody's fucking terrified of Lars. Like tiptoeing around and like, well, maybe it's okay. Let him go. He'll be fine. No, God damn it. Okay.
Here's blue milk. I just have some more blue milk. Everything's okay. Don't hit me again.
Yeah.
I'm laughing about it. It's a terrible situation, but that is the implication that we got.
Yeah.
Like
definitely.
There's some weight behind Lars's frustration. So, as a parent, I totally understood, but I also hurt for that weird relationship that they had. I get Lars's motivations, especially when you're seeing something like Darth Vader.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Like with him, he's a sympathetic character because he writes out why he is that way. Like he goes into great detail of, what he saw Vader go through and, what everything that happened. And he knows that he's on the precipice of hitting it big with the fucking vaporizer, the vaporator form.
Yeah.
Like he's like when he's telling Luke one more season, he's not telling him one more season just to drag the kid along. He's like literally at the edge of that. And he's like, I know, I just need one more fucking season from you. We're going to get it big and I can finally hire some hands and then you can go fuck off with your friends. Yeah. Now, whether that happens or not, of course, is a moot point, but he truly believes it.
Yeah.
Just like any proper villain, like you believe what you're doing is the right thing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I do get the vibe that he's just like, if he just hangs around for one more season, he's going to get it. He's going to click with what I'm trying to teach him. So I do feel like that is like, that's sort of like, I'm sort of trying to indoctrinate him at this point, and he'll eventually get it. But the Skywalker blood is too powerful, man. He's staring up the stars every single night, and you can't ignore that sense of wonder and exploration that is just sort of dormant, arguably in every single child, but specifically in this story, Skywalker blood. And then when he sees his friends going off, like, how do you not want to go join them? I mean, they're getting off this dusty ass shithole of a planet where you're terrified if it's not fucking the sand people fucking getting you, it's Jawas stealing your goddamn shit, or it's fucking crate dragons tearing your goddamn house apart, or it's just local fucking gangs terrorizing your fucking homestead. Like, this is a dangerous goddamn back world.
Yeah, it is. Like, this is basically, this entire planet is a project. So it's it's not a good place to be.
Yeah. So we get that moment of him going to Biggs and all of his other friends that are sort of there and like, hey guys, look, I just saw this thing up there. They go out and check it out and they're like, well, it's clearly over now. I don't see what the hell's going on. And then we sort of cut to the droids landing on Tatooine, and then of course Vader finding out that the droids escaped and then sending down a I don't know, a squad or a troop or whatever to investigate and find these droids. For the Empire, this is imperative. This is one of those moments of a leader that no one really respects because they've done something significant. Vader is in a position that I'm intuiting here that the military leaders, they don't like Vader. They don't want to work with Vader. They're only doing it because the Emperor has told them they have to. And frankly, he's a wizard. He's a magical guy. He just pulls fucking bunnies out of hats, and they're just like, "Oh, scary, Lord Vader, great trick!" Like, he's a space wizard, and he's like following this religion that has been dead for a decade or more. So they're just like, "All right, dude, like fucking do your thing or let us do our thing. Like, we're tired of this shit." And he's just like, I need this win. If I don't get this goddamn win of finding this fucking droid with these goddamn plans, not only is the Emperor gonna fuck me because he's gonna be fucking super pissed that I didn't fix this problem for him, and everything's riding on me, but no one else is gonna respect me, so I have no future in this galactic empire. I felt the weight of Vader's responsibility more in this novel than I ever did watching the film.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. Like, you never, when watching, you never quite understand Vader's place. Like, is he actually a part of the military force? And I mean, of course, he's not. We understand this. Like, he has literally nothing to do with the military of the Empire. He's
governance.
A secondary character, essentially. Like, he's in a completely different thing, and that's where we get like the Inquisitorius and shit, or whatever the fuck that dumb shit's called. But yeah, like it never really quite drives home, but this absolutely did. Like, I almost wish I could Men in Black myself to read this first and watch the movie to see kind of how different my perception of this saga would be versus having watched it and then read it.
Yeah. There was a very strong moment where the governors and military tacticians in that room were talking about the Death Star and the power that it sort of had. And they were sort of talking shit about how, Vader wanted to do his thing, but he was a sort of chained dog to Tarkin. I got the sense watching it as a kid that they were sort of peers, Tarkin and Vader, at the behest of the Emperor. I never got the vibe that Vader was Tarkin's dog.
No.
I kind of got that vibe in this. The way that the rest of the military saw Vader, I got that vibe. Of course, we get that scene where he's like choking out dude and, that sort of crumbled. But, Tarkin's just like, that's enough. And Vader's like, okay, I'm going to stop choking your ass because he told me to stop. But he's still not working for Tarkin. He's still not beholden to Tarkin.
Yeah, it was always sort of like a mutually beneficial relationship dynamic between those two. At least that's how I always perceived it. In this, it's like Tarkin's the one in control. Tarkin's the one with power, but he gives Vader so much just so that Vader can feel good about himself, basically, and then do what Tarkin wants him to do. That's definitely what I got in this book.
I did really love in future iterations of, like in the Clone Wars, where Tarkin saw young Anakin and then saw Vader and then sort of made that connection and grew that respect, even had him hunting him in one novel. There was this great sort of Tarkin-Vader back and forth relationship that was different than every other Imperial officer and sort of... just bad guy relationship. I mean, the relationship between the Emperor and Vader presented in this is wildly different than we get in anything else.
Yeah.
And it was very much like a painful antagonistic experience and everything else that we got. But with Tarkin, it was respect. Like, I respect you as a warrior. I want you to make me a better warrior.
Yeah.
And I loved that dynamic that ended up developing in future iterations and stuff. In this specific story, I thought it was great because it just gave us a different dynamic of Vader to sort of experience. He is literally on his own. Like, he has his own mission. He is doing it for his own reasons. Everyone else has their own shit. They want political power. Fine, whatever. He's got his vision, and he's going to execute in his own way. And I really, really appreciate it in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing, Obi-Wan was different in this for me than in the film. Like, in the film, we got the arm being cut off. In this, motherfucker took bitches out.
Yeah, he was a fucking... Well, so it's two different things that really changed the character. Like, he has a sense of humor in this.
Yeah.
Dry as fuck in the movie. And, in this, he's brutal as shit. Like, just fucking motherfuckers up and then walking off like, someone else can take care of this.
Man. I loved Obi-Wan in the book. Much more. Like, I know Sir Alec Guinness didn't really like the whole Star Wars thing. He was never really into sci-fi. He did it because it was a gig. He did a good job. I thought as Obi-Wan, he did a good job.
I swear, that's like the MO of some of the strongest characters from the first film. It's like, it was just a job. I fucking hate it. I think it's stupid. And it's like, you motherfucker, that's what you're going to be known for centuries from now. Like Alec Guinness, I couldn't tell you a single fucking thing he's been in. I understand that he's been in a lot and he was a very prolific actor. I understand that. But he will always be Obi-Wan. Like, period. Yeah. And then, of course, the fucking holy shit. Harrison Ford. Forgot his fucking real name for a second there. Like, I mean, he's done a lot, but he hates this shit, and that's like his greatest role.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird too, because he's done fucking Indiana Jones. Like, for fuck's sake, of all the other massive franchises that shit the bed recently. Like, he did, even though I enjoyed the film personally.
I was like, I dug this last one.
It just didn't do well commercially is all. But like, he's known for doing some really amazing roles. He did a great horror film with fucking Michelle Pfeiffer. Like, just a horror film, which was amazing.
That's right. I completely forgot about that.
It was so good, and he did such a good job in it too. Like, he is a great actor, but you would never know it if you're just sort of seeing him in this Han Solo role, because Han Solo is so reductive as a character. He is a trope that they needed in the film.
Yeah.
That I appreciate because he's there and he needs to be there.
Uh-huh.
But he is a trope. Like he's just listed as the dude bro, that sort of guides the hero so that the hero doesn't get his ass killed because Luke's a kid. He's literally a fucking kid. He doesn't know shit about shit. He needed an older fucking figure about him. I loved rereading those moments of them going to the detention center and like blasting their way in there and like, I'm fine. How are you? Like,
dude, all right. That was one of the greatest things about this book, and also one of the worst things about this book, is when you got the lines exactly as they were in the movie, you're like, yeah. And then when they completely change the lines to something else that doesn't feel right because, it's something that's been a part of the cultural vernacular for 40 fucking years, it's like, oh, that's not right. You did it wrong. Do better next time.
Right. Well, the battle between Vader and Obi-Wan in the book sounds amazing.
It's way better than the movie.
It's so engaging. They're like, he quickly reposted it and he's moving with the speed that's unmatched. And then you watch the film and you're just like, what?
Well, it's so funny too, because first time you watch, that is great. Like, I mean, it's still great. Yeah. Like, that goes without saying. But future films, especially once we get to the prequel trilogy, it's like, oh god, that's lightsaber fighting, huh?
Yeah, I had no idea.
I can feel the passion. And then another thing that I loved about Obi-Wan is he's fucking fluent in Shriwook in this.
Yeah,
and fucking Chewie can speak Basic, which
that was crazy.
Anybody is familiar with Legends, Wookiees can't speak proper Basic unless they have a speech impediment. And it is hilarious to me
they
that
need a fish lip to speak.
Well, pretty much. So, like, I forget which series it is. I want to say it's when Jaina and Jason are like still little kids.
Yeah.
But they have a translator on, or in Edomir, whatever. They got a representative on Kashyyyk, and he speaks perfect Basic. And they're like, "Wow, that's amazing! Didn't know you guys could do that." I was like, "Oh yeah, well I've got a really bad speech impediment, so I can't speak my own language. So this, it works for this."
That's amazing.
Yeah, just the idea of Chewie speaking Basic was like, what the fuck?
It's got to be like, God.
Yeah.
Lots of round vowels. Round sounds.
So good.
Yeah, that was weird. I was struck by that too. Like, I actually prefer him being misunderstood or completely not understood by people because he's an alien.
Yeah.
I really like that. You know, one thing that the special edition versions of the films and really releasing them to the theaters in the special editions did was give us some extra scenes that we had not seen before. And one of them was the cut scene of Jabba. Of course, they injected the Return of the Jedi Jabba in it, not the Jabba that we got in this novel, which was just a burly humanoid, ostensibly.
Yeah.
And the visualization of him was almost like a barbarian.
Yeah, it is pretty. Well, have you seen the?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so goddamn funny. Like that's exactly what I saw with this, and I was like, man, I kind of almost wish they would have gone with that. But then, of course, it wouldn't have made sense for Return and all that stuff. Yeah. And having that bulk of it being is much more impressive. But
I really like where they went with Hutts. But seeing the original Hutt version as a sort of like a bad guy, I appreciate it. I like that. The way they ham-fisted Han walking behind him and like jutting up, like stepping on his tail. And he's all, wow. Well, all right.
It was pretty rough.
That's a choice. But I loved it having these cutscenes in it. We get to see these. I got the same thing with reading the Willow novelization. You get these cutscenes of this film that you love so much that you didn't even really realize were a part of it until you read it. And you're just like, oh, that makes so much more sense. I understand why in less than a 2-hour film, you can't include it all.
Oh, of course.
But in a story, it just fills out the character of Han Solo, And arguably Jabba the Hutt too. Like Greedo going in there, Han definitely shot first in the novel, in the film, and everything. I don't care how many times you change it and replace it. Han shot first.
No, I hate that shit. It's like not Han shot first. Han shot. That's it.
Yeah.
Period. End of fucking story.
Han shot, Greedo fucked and died. That's what happened. And that's the thing is like even in the film, Greedo shot, Han hit, Greedo missed. So whoever shot first doesn't matter. Greedo didn't fire at all in the
No,
first?
no. The original theatrical release, it was only Han shooting. It wasn't until the special edition that Lucas added Greedo's misfire because he felt it made Han Solo too brutal. And it's like, he's a fucking pirate, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. It adds to the desperation of the character, is what it does. It puts him in a position like, look, I owe this motherfucker. If I don't pay him, he's going to kill me. Oh, shit, this alien has come to collect due. I have this job in the wing. I can pay him in just a couple goddamn days, but this bitch is going to kill me. I got to cover my tracks. Like, fuck this dude. I don't know him, but he's got to die. That adds to the character. It doesn't detract from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the Han Solo that I love.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, just because he does that doesn't make him a bad guy. It makes him real.
Yeah.
Like, good
I killed a guy just earlier today.
Do bad things. Yeah, exactly. It's somebody gets in the way, or they take that fucking last candy bar that you wanted.
Is all I'm saying.
Fuck him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, good people do bad things because that's life. It's not black and white.
Right. Yeah, Obi-Wan cut two motherfuckers in half. His gun and then the arm. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, and he's basically Space Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. I love the Jabba encounter, of course. You know, we get that with the sort of cut scenes, and then in the special edition, we get a new version of that with the Jabba that we come to know and love. And then, you know, moving forward, we get to see very much the film portrayed in the novel, and then ultimately, we get to see Luke join up with the rebellion, and it's like a homecoming, because he gets to see old friends and new friends, and Leia is DTF. She is into Luke, like really.
Oh yeah, no, she's like shaking at the knees, getting fucking boning pretty much.
Yeah, like, she had panties on there, so
because that would have been funny 2 films down.
They just have like a night of just pure excess, and then like cut to 2 films later. Oh fuck, we'll never talk about that again. Or they will, but in private.
Yeah.
Because again, post-COVID, what are you going to do? Everyone needs to get off. I loved the interaction when Luke got to Yavin. First of all, I love the reference to Yavin too, because we all know,
dude,
you know, the Exar Kun building Yavin temples with the ancient Sith people that were abandoned there by Sith Lords previous. This is all previous Old Republic shit, like Tales of the Jedi shit era. And so we know where the temples come from. He's coming into it in a time, and I'm obsessed with ancient cultures and shit like that too. So maybe that just feeds into it.
Oh yeah, man, it's fucking.
But he comes into it, and they're like, "This is Yavin 4, a planet that's, you know, spiraling around this massive uninhabitable gas world, and there's all these ancient temples. No one knows where they come from." And the whole time it's like, "I do."
Yeah, right, and it's. Like my favorite part about that, other than like them referring to like the base as a temple, like because it is a fucking temple, and then of course we know where the temple comes from, but just the aspect of them taking it back and not just being like, yeah, we're going to Yavin 4, and then that's the end of it, and then the story goes on. No, they do this beautiful buildup of what Yavin is, and then the sun of Yavin, and then the 4 moons, and it just like really paints a picture of the entire. That's part of the system, and it's just that's the shit I've always loved about these books is that's wholly unnecessary. That literally does nothing for the book, but I eat up every goddamn second of it.
It's fucking world building.
It is.
Arguably, no one's done it better than Tolkien, but I mean, I think Lucas with Star Wars, he only dropped hints, but he did and I don't know how much of it was in the script versus Alan Dean Foster doing it, but it ended up where it just hinted at this sort of legacy, this sort of ancient history of this galaxy far, far away, that even in the time that we're experiencing, which is supposed to be a long time ago, is ancient to them. And I love the idea of sort of building upon extinct cultures and just sort of, you know, extrapolating on their sort of memory and stuff, because that's all the Americas ever is. And well, arguably all human culture.
Yeah, I was like, that's just human existence.
I love that stuff so much, and to have it injected in this novel, and I don't even think Lucas intended to go that deep. But reflecting back with what we know about archaeology and human experience, that is the human experience, is building on
absolutely.
top of like lost cultures and sort of using the technology that they generated and trying to make a better version or extrapolating from it. Sometimes they're able to,
Mhm.
sometimes they're not, and it sort of deteriorates. We see that in Egypt, we see that in South America, but it's beautiful, and we get to see that personified in this one planet that is ultimately doomed if that Death Star gets to get a lock on it.
Mhm.
And it's coming. And like as a kid watching this, I always saw Star Wars as two halves. There was the first half of the Death Star and the second half of Yavin, even
Mhm.
though Yavin was a very short part. In the novel, it's really the last third. It's just
Dude,
a very tiny end.
it's a blip.
It's
It
just
is
a couple
so
chapters.
crazy. Yeah, when you get to the end and you realize, fuck, I've almost finished this book.
Yeah.
How are they going to wrap this up? Even though you know how it wraps
Yeah.
up. So crazy, but it doesn't feel rushed at all.
Yeah.
It's paced perfectly.
It actually, for me, it felt like when they were in the trenches in the star fighting, I was like, this is a little too much. Like they were really going into the military tactics and the different
Yeah.
starfighter teams going in, and I was just like, all right, I get it. Like let's wrap this bitch up.
Yeah, that was a little
But it
extended,
needed,
we'll say.
like I feel like it needed it. My attention span's a little bit all over the place just for who I am, but at the time that it was written, I do feel like it needed it because there was nothing like it.
Hmm.
You know, we got those sort of Battlestar Galactica scenes on TV or those Buck Rogers scenes on serial TV or film, which were sort of ridiculous and
Hmm.
quick cuts and, strings visible and stuff. It just wasn't realistic. This lent a authenticity to it that was very much like a World War II epic, which is what he was
Oh,
going for.
definitely. Well, not only that, it also, because of the extended scenes, like we've got, you appreciate the characters that are involved much more,
Yeah.
because a lot of them you just, you've watched it so many times, it's just, okay, this one dies now, then this one dies, then this one dies, then Luke wins, blah
Yeah.
blah blah, whoop-de-doo. Like every death that happened when they were going through that trench or getting up to the trench, like you felt it because you knew the name, you knew the relationships that that person had with the rest of the squad or this squad. um so was it necessary? No. Was it appreciated? Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially Blue Leader. Blue Leader,
Hmm.
he doesn't even have a name, but he has a moment where everyone respects him.
Hmm.
Everyone defers to him in his judgment because he is the commander of the Blue Squad.
Hmm.
And he like approaches Luke and he's like, Skywalker, huh? I knew your father. He was a great pilot. And you're just like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. It's like, that
Who
was
the fuck is
fucking
this
awesome.
guy? Wait, like, was he like kicking it in the Clone Wars? Like, how do you know his dad? Like, that's dope as fuck. There's a story behind Blue Leader that has never been told, and I desperately want to
Mhm.
know.
Right.
Oh,
That would be
god
awesome.
damn. It's
'Cause I
so
mean, it's
cool.
totally feasible because I mean, fuck, that was 19 years ago,
Yeah.
like from this time. So it's like totally feasible that he could have been flying with Anakin.
It was awesome. And then, of course, Biggs. Biggs eating it.
Yeah.
That was
It's
brutal, man.
And that's the thing. Like that's why it's such a shame that all this stuff from the beginning of the film that got cut out wasn't
Yeah.
in there, because it makes
Establishing.
that death much more important than just, oh, this guy died saving Luke.
Mhm.
Because I mean, a lot of that shit did get shot, and it is a lot of the deleted scenes, the interaction between the two of them
Yeah.
on Tatooine. But yeah, it was pretty heavy.
I mean, famously, one of the aspects that makes Rogue One so amazing is that they did refer to some of those early cuts that weren't
Mhm.
included in the original Star Wars to use for the
Yeah.
spaceship cuts. And I think it was brilliant use of the footage, and it just goes
Mhm.
to show how much was shot that was
Oh, yeah.
never included.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, and not
fucking
only
brilliant.
that, but like how well it was shot.
Yeah.
Like you put something from the fucking late 70s into a movie that's in the late 2010s, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, you, unless you knew what you were looking at, you couldn't tell me what was shot in the 70s versus what was shot in modern time.
Mhm.
Especially with the interactions between the different groups. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. No, this was such a wonderful experience. I did like the constant, almost incessant mention of Obi-Wan communicating with Luke, and Luke just sort of like hearing it, thinking it's weird, and then brushing it off,
Mhm.
like over and over and over again. But it never got to the sort of fever pitch point that I felt in the film,
Mhm.
where it was like, Luke, trust your instincts, and he was like, I'm shutting this bitch down. Like it talked about it, and we got a couple scenes, but it just never had the gravity that the film portrayed.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I that aspect of it, I liked the film more, but almost everything else, I liked the novel more.
Yeah, it was great. And it's just like there's so much stuff that was in there that we didn't need. Like one of the things that I loved quite a bit, just because I'm super fascinated with the whole pre-written history, pre-civilization era of Star Wars, was the whole like the genetic relationship between Jawas and Tuskens. Because if you guys dig deep enough, it is like they were the original sentient creatures on Tatooine when it was still a water planet. And then when the water dried up, they went two completely different routes. And through evolution and all that stuff, they turned out the way they turned out. And just getting that little bit of a mention of that, it's like, God, that's just so fucking great. Especially to see where it went just because of that mention. Oh, it was so good.
Well, and just the fact they even mention it at all. Like, you could just not, and it would be okay.
There's no reason. No reason at all. Like, you do not need to know that they are basically this. They're twins, essentially.
I love that we were talking about doing this movie or this book, and we were like, "Are we gonna have anything to talk about?" And we're like an hour in.
We'll be able to squeeze 20 minutes out of this, and we're sitting at an hour, and I'm still like, "Oh, we didn't talk about everything."
It's so good. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot about this novel that, again, to sort of reiterate, reinvigorated my love for Star Wars, but also stuff that I never really explored. I knew there were sequences with Luke early in Tatooine. I'd seen one of them, but I never knew how detailed they were. I've read this story before too, and I didn't remember it. So this was very much like a first read for me, which is weird. Just goes to show how fucking ignorant I am. He's just forgetting shit. I loved this novel. I thought it was great. I did feel like the space combat was a little bit drawn out, but I'm okay with it because it did show relationship. And when we finally do get back to that rebel base on Yavin, and everyone's freaking the fuck out and high-fiving each other and doing like the Top Gun up down high fives, and everyone's doing like volleyball without their shirts on, and like I'm down for it. Like that's the best Family Guy episode ever. Like, yes, let's do this shit. Yeah. No, I thought that was great, and especially the sort of tip off of how Leia was really into like congratulating Luke. When we got that drop moment in the novel of Han saying, well, I can't remember the line. It was something like you got the shot, kid, take it, or I don't know, something like that. I started getting fucking weepy. I was just like, yes, like you fucking Han Solo, you're not a fucking, I don't know, a douchebag that just doesn't care about shit. Like, you actually have grown to care about other people. We watch you smoke a motherfucker in a cantina in a fucking off-world planet, but you actually care about this goddamn cause. Like, yes, this is the fucking team up. I love this so much. I was getting all fucking emotional. And then Luke's sort of moment of reflection on Biggs dying and Blue Leader dying and stuff. I'm just like, oh, goddamn, this is like real. This is like fucking world. This is the beginning of Saving Private Ryan when the dad crawls up to the goddamn gravesite. He's like, did I fucking earn it? I'm just like, yes, I love this so much. And I never got that from the film at all. Only from the novel.
Right. Well, and it's crazy too, because like there's some aspects of it, like when he's getting ready to fuck off with the treasure, like the reward that he got, like you get it a little bit in the movie of him earnestly trying to persuade him. But in this, like the way that it was portrayed, it was just pure desperation. Like he's like, you are going to die. Come with me because I don't want you to die. You are my friend. But it's the exact same scene and it's the exact same words, but completely different feeling. Yeah. It's so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really what makes this great. So Chris makes a comment about piloting with Anakin. I thought episode 3 did a great job of highlighting Anakin's skill, that sort of opening sequence in his piloting skills. I love the callback in this about this. There's no way it's a genetic thing, but I love that sort of inference that, oh, your dad was so good, so you're so good at this, is sort of a genetic connection.
Yeah.
And then Blue Leader's reference to it I was just like, oh man, there's a legacy here that they're setting up that they're going to eventually pay off. I know how it ends, but if I'm
Yeah.
putting myself in the mindset of when this novel was written,
Mhm.
the excitement of where's it going to go, I was in
That
it.
that's the nice thing is it is it's just different enough that it is almost like experiencing it differently.
Yeah.
Like afresh almost. So it's yeah, I fucking love it. And I cannot wait to get into Empire.
Yeah. My fear is that because they had such an established sort of narrative by the time they got to Empire, that it's not going to be as impactful. But again,
Mhm.
that's just my fear. So hopefully I'll be proven wrong.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like it's almost like especially with how small it is.
Yeah.
Like it is the smallest book out of the trilogy, and yeah, it's like
And-
fuck. Are they just gonna stick with the movie? Like they're just gonna do shot for shot with the movie? Yeah,
which
I'm
isn't
definitely see what
necessarily a
happens.
bad thing.
No,
It
no,
is
not at all.
Wildly seen as the best film of all of Star Wars. Period.
Well, one of the best
So-
movies ever made. Period.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
So yeah,
it's good.
yeah.
So if you just stick with that, awesome.
Yeah.
But I do like seeing the sort of progression. You know, that's why I
Mhm.
fucking slogged through those goddamn archive books, is because I wanted to get that vibe of the growth of the whole saga and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. What else did you notice that you wanted to sort of bring up?
Really, I mean, that's what we got.
Oh no, Chewie,
No, I talked about Chewie.
the medal.
Oh yeah, at the fucking end. Chewie got a fucking Battle of Yavin medal
Yeah.
in the book, but not the fucking movie. What
the
the
fuck?
fuck? That's literally what it says. That was my note. Was what the fuck?
Yeah.
And like, they even went into painstaking detail of him getting the medal, like it being difficult for him and Leia both to be presented the medal. I was like, why couldn't you do that in a fucking movie?
It made no sense. And then they had to go do that whole like sort of MTV stage thing of like giving him the medal later on, and
Yeah.
it's like it already happened in the fucking novel that was
Yeah.
released before the goddamn film.
Right.
Why would you remove that? It doesn't make any sense.
They must have lost one of the medals day of or something.
Yeah,
Fucking
they're like,
props department.
we only
couldn't
got
find
2.
it.
What are you gonna do? Like fuck.
One of them was made of chocolate and wrapped, and some asshole just ended up eating it. So
It's like one of those pirate coins, the fucking foil around chocolate. They're like, oh, I was hungry. I didn't know it was a medal.
You know, Chris, I don't know. I've never actually listened to the radio drama, so I don't know. Do you know that answer?
I don't. I've never listened to it either. I've heard snippets of it, but I've never actually like sat and listened to the whole thing.
The same. It's which I don't know why, because
Interesting.
I fucking love audiobooks, so I don't know why I've never listened to it.
Radio dramas are a little different, though. I know
Dude, I
Star Wars
love them,
novels
man.
are particular with doing great sound effects and music and stuff like that. They're known for, or at least EU Star Wars novels were.
Mhm.
I don't. Radio dramas, I always get this weird like 1950s vibe.
Dude, that's what I love about it.
Oh, really? It just
Yeah, I
never
feel
really
like-
lands for me as all.
I feel like I should be sitting with a scotch in my nice big chair, staring at this giant fucking radio. Like probably one of my favorites of recent time has been like this, either like the American Gods books or
They're
even
so
like the
good.
Sandman books.
Sandman. I've never read those
yeah.
graphic novels, or I didn't know if there's novels or not, but I've never.
Yeah, they're graphic novels, and they're Audible exclusive, so it's like full cast, full sound effects.
Wow.
They're brilliant. I mean, they're not really good to listen to if you're used to listening to it at like time and a half speed or more.
Yeah.
It's a little wonky then, but yeah, no, they're pretty dope.
Yeah, I usually do like a 2 times speed for novels and stuff.
I can't do the 2 times. I giggle the whole time. So I found that if I do 1.5, well, okay, so I guess it depends. Like if I'm listening to something that was like, well, never mind, it doesn't matter. So I usually between 1.45 or 1.65, and that's like the sweet spot that doesn't completely fuck everything up. Like Stephen King still sounds like Stephen King.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I hate going from like 2x to 1. And then you're just like, fucking get there. Like, why are
Yeah.
you drawing everything out?
yeah,
It's got to be just a modern sensibility of being able to do that, because that was never a thing before.
absolutely. Like I never did that for years
Yeah.
because I would listen to books on tape. So it was just like you accepted what it sounded like. And then one day I accidentally pressed the speed up button instead of like rewinding it. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, hello. I like this.
Hello.
I could finish a 14-hour book in 8 hours.
Yeah.
Hmm.
This is
Go
delightful.
on.
Yeah, I can't stand listening to, like, watching my shows back or anything that we do on, like, recording or anything unless it's sped up. Because I'm just like, shut the fuck up, Adam. God damn, you suck. This is the worst. Just get it out. Fuck.
Yeah.
It's the worst. Yeah. So was the famous Star Wars radio drama based on off the novel? I would assume it was based off the novel. I mean, probably the script, which the novel was based off of as well. I'm sure Alan Dean Foster extrapolated a little bit with approval from Lucas, but I mean, that's what it all came down to. Even the film was based off that, obviously, but a lot was cut for time and context. So, and that's what I love so much about this, is that we got the film, which we love, and we got a little extra from the film, not special edition extra, but we got original extra, which added context that wasn't necessarily necessary, but it was welcome, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that anyone, and I said this at the very beginning, if you love Star Wars, this will make you fall back in love with it.
Yeah.
If you're disillusioned or not.
The thing is, it's 179 pages.
Yeah.
I literally read this in 5 days, taking my sweet ass time. Like, it is worth every second of your time.
Yeah. I mean, I would say this is better than any of I liked a lot of the Han Solo novels, but this is better than all of them.
Oh, yeah, 100%. There's no argument on my end.
So good. All right. Anything else you wanted to cover with this thing?
I mean, we got another hour? No, man, we got it. This is fucking read it, people. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't.
Yeah, we didn't even think we would have 20 minutes to talk about it, and we've already passed an hour, so
yeah.
Definitely check it out. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in live or in after the fact. We invite you to subscribe to this channel. Click the bell to get notified about our next video. Also, you can become a member of the Infernal Brotherhood.
Fuck yeah, you can.
So check that out. We also have merch like this shirt that I'm wearing right now.
Not like this shirt, because I didn't change.
You son of a bitch.
I am. I'm so.
But there is stuff. There's the link in the description below, so check it out. So until the Infernal Brotherhood convenes again, my fellow scruffy-looking nerf herders, may the force be with you.
Tapes are not life forms. Right? You thought it was Vader. I fucking love that line, man. I just set the book down so I was laughing too hard.
I just want Vader to bitch slap someone.